Hello and welcome to Elementary STEM with Miss Crosman. Today I thought instead of coming to you with a new lesson, I was going to share some tips that I've learned from 3 years of working in the STEM lab. So today's topic is 20 things you did not know you needed for your STEM lab. And these are things that I have used over and over again, but when I was originally starting out in STEM, they were never things that I thought would be on my list of items to purchase. Number one is an 8-foot ramp. So I went to Home Depot and I got a 4-foot by 8-foot section of luan. I had them cut it down the middle, and then I picked up 4 1x2 pieces of pine wood that I screwed into the sides of them. So I have 2 8-foot ramps, which is perfect because that's one for each school. So we use the 8-foot ramp in so many different ways, and it's great because they almost all involve building vehicles, so every time the kids come into the class and they see that the ramp is down, they get pretty excited about it. I also do a lot of challenges where I say, your vehicle needs to move 8 feet because with an 8-foot board I can set it on the floor and the kids start with their vehicle at one end of it and it has to travel the distance to the other end of it. So it's a good way of measuring as well, having a very standard measurement that this is how far you've got to go. The second item on my list of top 20 things I need to have in my STEM lab is wheels. Because we do so many projects with wheels, we need lots of Lego wheels and Connects wheels and CDs and lids to containers, things like that. And one of the ways I get a lot of wheels, because oftentimes when you're buying Lego kits, they don't come with a ton of wheels, is I go onto eBay and buy them from other sellers because they usually can get a really great price on a lot of wheels. And if I can't find something really specific, because we really like to use the big bicycle wheels, I can go on to Bricklink and they will have them as well. The third thing on my list are weights. My first year doing STEM, I found a lot of rocks in my driveway and I brought them in and we used them for my rock stacking activity as well as for testing bridges and all kinds of different assignments. We do Little Red Riding Hood baskets and the kids put rocks in the basket and they have to get from one end of the classroom to the other. So any form of weights. I went out and bought a lot of dollar store glass gems. So we have a lot of those on hand as well. And also from coaching Lego robotics when we had our middle school, I have about 20 weighted Lego bricks, which also help when we're doing some of our weight tests. Number 4 sounds silly. I use a set of 2001 World Book Encyclopedias. This is invaluable in my class, and the librarian can tell you how many times a year I come down with my little red wagon and I borrow every single one of them. We use them as weights when I need a really heavy weight to test things, although I also do have some bricks in the classroom. That's an alternative idea if you don't have a lot of old encyclopedias on hand that nobody else is using. We also use them as bases for our bridges when we're building bridges. Number 5, coin counters and paper money. I find that when we're doing anything involving makerspace, it's important to put the kids on a budget. And some of my students, the majority of my students are kindergarten through 2nd grade. We need a way of kind of keeping track and being honest of how much we're using from makerspace. So I'll often give kids an allotted number of coins, and every time they come up to makerspace to buy something, they have to deposit a coin. And in the beginning of the year, I do allow for trade. So if you ended up spending 20 coins all on pipe cleaners and then realize you can't possibly do this project with pipe cleaners, they can bring back still usable pipe cleaners and trade them in for something different. As the year goes on, I try and make them more accountable of really looking at their planning ahead of time, and they're not allowed to do trades, but we use money a lot in that way. Number 6, cast off manipulatives. Every year in both of my schools, teachers kind of go through their shelves and they look at things that they haven't used in 5 or 10 years and they put them either on the donation table or on the stage during the summer. And I like to paw through that and find all kinds of things that I can use for my classroom, different counters, different blocks. Sometimes a teacher's retiring and they're getting rid of some of the toys in their classroom, and a lot of the things in STEM are toys like Legos and Connects pieces and things like that. So I look for those. But the math manipulatives, we have some cool blocks I've found down there and gears and just some fun things like that. Number 7 are kind of the category of toys. Plastic figurines. I had no idea how important plastic figurines would be in my class, as well as stuffies and other toys. So the plastic figurines we use when we're designing something, like if I'm reading the book Muncha 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 and the kids have to design a Lego solution to the farmer's problem to keep the rabbits out of the garden. It's really important to have small figurines so that they can use something to determine the size of the structure they need to build And it helps to have these small figurines so that they can do that without building these huge elaborate things, which we won't have time to do in a 40-minute class. So the small figurines. Also, I get stuffies. Those are great when we're doing zipline exercises or you have to build some sort of a vehicle. So I try and get stuffies that are about that big, kind of the size of Beanie Babies, and we use those a lot. And it just kind of energizes the kids. When you pull out a toy, for some reason, it's like really, really exciting to them that they know that this lesson is going to be fun just because there are toys on the table. And I have a lot of plastic figurines, and what I usually do is greet the kids at the door with a dishpan full of them and ask them to pick out one as they're entering the classroom, and that gets them excited and kind of in the right mood to listen and engage with the lesson for the day. And toys in general, my class is a STEM class. Like, everything we have in there is a toy. We have Legos, we have Connects, we have Magnetiles, we have marble runs. All of those things are fantastic to have in a STEM classroom, and they get used time and time again. Number 8 on my list is a small toolkit that also includes mallets. There is nothing that stops a lesson faster than realizing that you have dead batteries, and in order to get in to replace the batteries, you need the world's tiniest screwdriver, and you don't have it. And then that lesson has to get tabled for a day. So I always keep a toolkit in both schools. I include small mallets because they're good sometimes for the kids when they're working on projects, and also carabiners. I like to have those as part of my toolkit because they work great with zip lines and for collecting materials and holding them all together. Number 9 is a yardstick. We don't use yardsticks for measuring in my classroom because number 10, I'm going to talk to you about what we do use. But we use yardsticks in my classroom to retrieve the small items that have rolled underneath your furniture. If you want to retrieve those Legos and those Matchbox cars and those marbles, you're going to need a yardstick. But number 10 is cloth measuring tapes. Now, the first time I went to the dollar store, I got 20 of those metal measuring tapes, and I realized, especially at kindergarten to 2nd grade, they cut. They cut a lot. Even with talking to the kids about how we're supposed to use them and how to be careful and warning them that they cut, I was sending kids to the nurse's office to get Band-Aids way more than I wanted to. So I started looking into cloth measuring tapes. And no, they don't measure as far as a tape measure, but they work pretty good for measuring up to about 5 or 6 feet. If we need to measure something beyond that, I have the kids just use their shoes. Like, put your feet end on end and count how many steps you had to go. So cloth measuring tapes, really important. Number 11 is grant writing skills and the knowledge of how to research grants and find out what ones may fund the projects that you're looking for. I have made probably close to $10,000 for my STEM classrooms through applying for grants, and that is way more money than I ever would have been budgeted for. So really important to learn how to research grants, learn how to write grants. It's especially helpful if you've already done the project on a small scale and can then communicate better what your goals are. It's really hard to write a grant and just say, oh, we want technology. Nobody's really out there to fund just saying, yeah, I want this. They really want to know what project you're doing, how it's going to impact student learning, how it's going to bridge the academic gaps for kids, all those kind of things will help you get the money that you need to do stuff. Number 12 is Foamboard. So if you get awarded a grant and they give you this big check for it and it's made of foam, save it or go out and buy some Foamboard, because I really like using Foamboard when we are doing some ramp challenges that my regular ramp just has too much friction to be able to use. So we use Foamboard when the kids are making sleds and out of materials that they think have minimal friction, and so we test it on my Foamboard ramps, and I have a couple of them so that I can set them at different degrees. So there's like kind of the easy one, which is a steeper one, and then there's the super hard one so that they can try and really challenge themselves. Number 13 is a referee whistle. Now, I have had a referee whistle for I don't want to admit how many years I've been teaching, but almost since the beginning, because when I'm out on the playground doing playground duty, I often get vocal strain at some point during the year, and it's really hard to call the kids in. But I find by having a referee whistle, and I use it when I'm on recess duty, the kids are accustomed to having to respond when I blow the whistle. They know that when we go outside to do our outdoor activities, they can go very far away from me and be exploring and doing different things, but when I blow that whistle, it means we're gathering it's time to come back in, and that is essential to me because my voice is not going to carry that far. Number 14 are clear totes. I favor the Sterilite totes that I pick up at Target when they go on sale. I think Walmart has them as well. I get the shoebox size ones, and I get the ones that in their advertisement they fit like 3 towels, but they're substantially bigger. And those I use for tons of things in the class. But the reason I like the clear ones is because I want kids to be able to see what the item is in the bin before they pull it off the shelf. When I had solid colored bins, I would put labels on the end of them, but a lot of my students are in kindergarten and first grade and can't read the word magnetiles or Kiva planks or things like that. So it helps that they can just see the item. I also use those totes, I have tons of them, and I use the shoebox size ones to set up student materials before class. It just makes a more efficient way of getting started and getting going and minimizing time that you have to hand things out or distribute materials. The kids can get right going with group work. Number 5, clipboards. And I like the clipboards with a little hole in the top so I can tie a piece of yarn through it and tie a pencil to it. So that for me really helps us when we're going outside or when we're working around the classroom, that students have the materials that they need really readily accessible and can write on them without poking holes right through the paper. Number 16, Matchbox cars, marbles, ping pong balls, basically anything that rolls. I find a lot of students when we're doing a challenge want to kind of up the ante in their challenge, and they'll ask for something to roll like a car or a marble or a ping pong ball. So it's good to have those on hand. Lamination paper. Now, in both of my schools, when you start a lamination job, there's about 12 inches, 14 inches of lamination paper that doesn't get used at the beginning of every project. And I leave a basket right next to the laminator, and I ask teachers to cut that piece off for me and leave it for me, because we use that when we're doing a lot of our exercises about friction. We use it for some of our kind of STEAM projects, the arts and crafts kind of things. It's a great material to have a lot of it on hand. Number 18 is a table scraper, and I went my first couple of years without a table scraper, and now I have one and I really enjoy it. If you don't know what a table scraper is, it's in the kitchen section. It's this thing that you use when you're cooking and you scrape the counters down and like dump all the floor and the dough and stuff into the trash can. But it is great for taking Elmer's glue and glitter and things like that off from your workspaces in your classroom. Number 19, way more tape than you would ever imagine. And usually a class set of scissors, because the younger kids don't know how to rip the tape or can't get the tape dispenser to work. So we have a lot of scissors right next to the tape so that students can get tape when they need it. And the kids end up using way more of it than you expect that they're going to, so order a lot. And last but not least, number 20 on my list is glitter. Now, glitter is that one item I forget to buy every year, and then I wind up in a pinch and I have to borrow it from my more seasoned teacher who has it on hand. Now, we don't do STEAM projects with glitter. I'm not that crazy. I'm not crazy about glitter, but once a year it comes out when we're making leprechaun traps, because we need to show evidence that the students have invested their time and energy into these traps, even though I know that the leprechauns can't get past the school security system in the evening. So I've got to kind of keep the magic alive. So glitter, number 20. I hope you enjoyed the list. If you want to check out my video on the top 5 things you should not buy for your classroom, click right here.